So you're very welcome to the Paralympics Ireland feature on the 2000 Sydney Paralympic Games. And I'm delighted to be joined by two of our best Paralympians of all time. Mairead Berry, renowned for her feats in the swimming pool, and Bridie Lynch, who would have been one of the stars in the athletics arena. So you were both very, very welcome to this opportunity to reminisce about Sydney, but your careers in general. So you're very welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mairead, I hope you don't mind if I start with you. Sydney was your third Paralympic Games. It was also, as it turned out, to be your last one, but you left on a high with your best performance at a Games. Like it was a gold and two silvers, but
Yeah.
what a way to go out. How do you remember those days in Sydney and those three great achievements?
It was just, it was just great. Like, it was, my event was the last 3 days. So I was training up until basically the last week of the games, you know. So, and then when I got the silver, and then the next day I got the gold, and then the next day I got silver. So it was just amazing. Like, it was really on a high, you know.
You had a long wait then watching all the other athletes competing, did you?
I did, yeah, a long way, but it was worth it in the end, like, you know.
Did you find it hard to concentrate that long, knowing that you had, I don't know, was it a week or 2 weeks of
It
waiting?
was, well, it was nearly 3 weeks. So
And was it hard to concentrate while you were waiting for your
it
event?
was, yeah. And it was very hard on the other athletes as well, because I remember, like, I would have to have a rest and stuff like that, and they were just crawling in the into the house, like where we were staying. They couldn't even drop a pin, like, and the coach was giving out to them, you know,
So
because
you would have had athletes that would have, you competed in the last 3 days, but there would have been athletes that competed on the first day and maybe
yeah,
they were one
yeah,
event
yeah,
and they're finished. So they
finished,
would have been celebrating or
yeah, yeah,
unwinding. It must
yeah.
have been difficult for you then. Like what did you do yourself to maintain the focus that you need to go and compete?
Well, I just kind of concentrated and didn't do much. Like, I'd go swimming in the mornings, like, and come back and have a rest, and then I'd kind of go around the village for about an hour or something, you know. Like, but I would stay low key, like, you know, and then I would go and see a few of the athletes, you know, competing myself. Like, but other than that, like, I had to focus, you know, I couldn't do much, you know.
Did you, when you were watching the other athletes, did you see any of the other Irish athletes win a medal?
Yeah, it was great, it was, yeah.
And what
And
was
then
that like to motivate you to see what it would have meant to them?
it was, it just, I just kept saying, I have to do this, like, you know. And the girl that was always, um, that was always the Spanish girl, like, that was the girl that I was up against, you know, all the time.
Mm.
And then I I I kind of knew that I was better at long distance. It was 400 meters freestyle that I got a gold medal in,
Yeah.
you know. So I kind of knew, you know, once
And it
I
was,
got a good time in the field, like, I said that I, you know, I would do it, you know.
and what was that feeling like, that last length when you touched the wall and you knew you'd won?
I didn't actually realize until I touched the wall, you know, and then everybody shouting, and and then when I saw them, when I when I touched the wall, and I got up, then I realized that I had to win. it was a great feeling, great feeling.
That is an incredible high. And it's one, Bridie, that you would have experienced in previous Paralympic Games.
Yeah.
But Sydney was different for you. You had such a total accident that the discus bounces back off the frame. Did it leave you angry or upset or
Oh, I was very
emotionally?
upset. Like, I was very, very upset because that particular year, my training was going superb. Like, I was in the best shape of my life. And I mean, we're going to that then I suppose, having a freak accident, and it's very, very difficult to deal with, even for months later. Like, you know what I mean? And it left a scar for a while, I tell you.
So when that happened, you were left obviously, in pain, but you also had time. You were in Sydney. You were at the Paralympic Games. What did you do for the rest of the games?
At first, I wanted to come home, of course, but it just wasn't to be with the foot. You had to wait a certain length of time so you could travel with a broken foot. So I just went and watched other people and went to the stadium a couple of times and went to the swimming and went to athletics, and well, that's all you could do, really, wasn't it?
The experience of it, though, did you feel maybe in Sydney, just obviously huge disappointment not being able to compete, but would you have felt that maybe you took in more of the games compared to what you would have in, because it was your fourth game, Sydney, so you'd competed at 3 already. Did you experience
really
more of the
atmosphere?
atmosphere?
I would say I was I was devastated from what was after happening, and I suppose that's not something that you can deal with very easily and quickly, because I suppose, like, I've had a lot of success in the past, and I suppose I had put pressure on myself to do it again, and I was expecting to do it again.
Yeah, there was pressure on you without any doubt. I mean,
yeah.
you would have been signaled before the games as one of our best hopes of a medal. Did that?
Right.
What did you feel when you realized that you couldn't fulfill some of the expectations of people at home?
I suppose in a sense I was angry as well at it happening, but you learn to get over that one, and you deal with that one as time goes on, and but like, not a nice way to have to end a career of any description, you know what I mean?
And it was a career, though, and that's a really important thing. The Sydney Games were your last, but you had already performed at 3 Paralympic Games starting in 1984.
That's
like,
it.
You saw 4 games in total.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What was the progression in terms of recognition of Paralympic sport during your time from 1984 up until 2000? Did it seem like things had moved on in Paralympic sport?
I would say I'd say 84. It wasn't a very well organized. It was one for all sort of thing, but it seemed to change then after 92. I think people began to take it more seriously, and I think maybe then, I suppose, towards 96, I think people realized that we were athletes and not somebody that had a disability, and things changed. There was a bit of funding which helped, and it gave you an incentive to train and being able to train and not being out of fortune, to do the career that you want to do and be successful.
That respect that you gained over those years, that must have been a massive driver of you to reach higher standards in sport, of both of you.
Yeah.
Of course.
So your first games, Mairead, would have been in Barcelona, I think, was it?
Yeah, Barcelona 92, yeah.
What was it like? What was the reality of being at a Paralympic Games compared to what you expected? Was it everything you thought it would be?
No, I actually it was much better than what I was expecting. We just got on well as a team, like, and you know. And then when the competition was better than I was expecting, and the village was just great. But then 96, it wasn't organized very well over there in Sydney. Or no, sorry,
Atlanta.
not Atlanta. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Did you feel that way too, Bridie?
Not really, because I found in '96 I wasn't completely zoned, if you know what I mean. You might, you know what I mean. I was just there to compete, and you have to put up with what's available and what's there, and you know what I mean. And I think, like, I was totally focused, you know, '96, and it didn't matter what obstacles came in the way. I was able to overcome them as far as the organisation of the village was concerned.
You certainly overcame them. That was year one. That was a gold medal year for you.
It was indeed. Yeah.
So
yeah.
for someone like me who's never experienced that level of competition, what's it like when you realize that you've clinched that gold? What is that feeling like?
I suppose you know you're on top of the world. You know what I mean. You've trained hard to get to this level, and you know it's great when you do perform 100% in the day and get what you deserve. It doesn't always happen that way, but that particular time it did. You know, like I was lying in third position going into the fifth round, and like, you know, I had never beaten the Russian before, and I just one good throw and I was past the two of them. You know what I mean, which was brilliant.
That's the drama of winning something like that. You know, your final effort, your last throw. You know exactly what you have to do. How do you focus on keeping it all together and getting every millimeter you can out of that last throw?
You just have to keep, I suppose, really trying to tell yourself, keep relaxed, keep the arm long, because I'm a discus thrower. That's all really, because if you let the arm come before the body, well then it's going to be a bad throw. While if you let the arm as long as possible, you're on for a good throw if you can manage to get it out of the cage.
You were totally focused on technique.
Yeah, I was indeed. I was.
And then when you hear the distance, were you weren't the last person to throw, were you?
No, I wasn't. No,
you had that weight.
Yeah, I had that weight then. You know.
Are you sitting down waiting or standing up?
Oh, probably prancing about.
Yeah.
Prancing about, you know.
And how tense is that?
Oh, very, very intense. You know what I mean? And maybe people looking at you to try and psych you out of it, but you know what I mean. That didn't flaw me anyway. You know what I mean? I was, you know, and it was lovely as well, because like I had my own coach with me in Atlanta, which also helped as well. Even Harvey travelled to Atlanta to be with me at the time, so which was great as well. And it was great for him as much as me, because you know he got me, you know, to where I was.
Sometimes it can be a bit forgotten that, you know, you see the athlete up there, and the athlete is the one with the medal around their necks at the end of the games, but there's more than just the athlete. There's a lot that goes behind it.
That's right. There's another person there that, you know, got you to where you were.
Yeah, and the staff as well, is, you know,
It takes an army.
Yeah. It's not only just about the athletes; it's the staff as well, like the support staff.
Mairead, going back to your first games in '92. So what age were you back then when you were on the Irish team? Do you remember?
I was 16, 17.
So you were young.
Yeah, I was the youngest of the team.
Okay, so everybody would have been minding you a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, like, the games are a big thing, and when you're there, you deal with a lot. But what's it like getting that phone call or receiving that letter that tells you you're going to be on Team Ireland and you're going to go to Barcelona to compete at the Paralympic Games?
I just couldn't believe it. because I didn't think I was that that like I just didn't think that I was that good to be on the Paralympic team, like, you know.
Well, you definitely were, because
Mhm.
not
I
only
know,
did you go and compete, you won a silver.
yeah, yeah. So,
So the youngest person on the team goes and wins a silver. What was the reaction of the rest of the team to your success?
um, of the, they kept saying, "Oh my God, well done," you know, like wasn't expecting the medal at the time, you know. But again, it was the Spanish girl. I was always, you know, it was very close, like. So the coaches and all like kept saying, "You'll be fine, you'll be fine, you'll be fine," you know. But and
And they were
then
right.
yeah, yeah. So it was just, and then um and then the, the next 4 years afterwards as well, it's the same thing, like Atlanta as well,
And
and
did
then Sydney.
did you
Sorry,
take part in the parade, right?
in
The opening ceremony.
yeah, we all had to go to the open ceremony. Yeah,
So
yeah.
for that first games, um, as a 16 or 17-year-old, what's it like to be in the big stadium and to follow the flag and all that goes with it?
I was just I was just looking all around me and kept saying, this is it was so. Uh, I just kept saying, this isn't real, like, you know, surreal.
And
Um,
then kind of to bring it up to 2000, because that's the games that we're kind of concentrating on today. Did you know, did you both know that that would be your last games before the competition? Did you know that you were going to compete for the last time?
no, I didn't know that. No,
No. Did
no.
you know that,
No, I
Bridie?
didn't. No, I did not. No,
So
hadn't crossed that bridge. I hadn't crossed that bridge.
Yeah,
yeah, so
yeah.
there was no focus for you on like taking in every piece of it that you
No,
could.
no,
No,
no, no.
no.
You were there for a reason. You were there
Yeah,
to compete and hopefully compete to your best.
yeah.
And then Mairead, the Sydney, so we talked about Bridie's disappointment at that injury and what that meant. At the other end of the scale entirely, you went out and like you medaled at every games that you were at, but this one particularly, what caused you to be so much better at that games than what had been done previously? What was the difference for you?
I just put in an awful lot of work, you know. Not saying that I didn't put in an awful lot of work for the other, but I was more um focused and
Probably more experience too.
more experienced. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, more experienced, and I knew what I had to do. You know,
So the first medal you won was silver, then it was gold.
yeah.
Do you, so you obviously you won three at that games. Do any of those three events stand out to you more than the other?
The gold medal stuck out. You know,
And do you remember much about the race itself?
no, no, no. I just remember getting it. Like I was all I used all the upper body. So I remember just getting a spasm in my leg, and I had to kick it out to, you know, and that's all I remember until I got to the other end, until I finished.
So you had something like that happen to you that would have distracted maybe
Yeah,
most people,
yeah, yeah,
and you still recorded a gold medal performance. But like
yeah,
that's a brilliant example of the focus that you need.
yeah, yeah. and a world record as well I got.
So what would you have done if you didn't have that spasm?
I don't, I probably it probably would have taken a few more seconds off me time if I didn't have the spasm.
You competed late in the week or in the 2 weeks, as you said. So did you have more people at your event? Because I would imagine that some of the other athletes would have gone to other events as they finished theirs. So did you
Yeah,
have more people there to celebrate with you?
I think I did. Yeah, I think I did because the whole stadium was full. So there was an awful lot. There was one side of the stadium for the athletes. So I think an awful lot of athletes came to my event. You know,
What was
um,
it like to celebrate with them?
oh, it was just I can't really. It was great. Like I couldn't celebrate until because my event was the whole 3 days. Well, it was Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. My event was so all together. So I couldn't celebrate until
The last day.
the last day. You know.
And then
So
was it a
it was,
huge outpouring of relief? And
yeah,
don't have to
yeah.
go too into detail here now, but
It was like just a weight off your shoulders. You know,
yeah.
and you could relax then and just enjoy the rest. You know.
Bridie, you were on 4 different Team Irelands at Paralympic Games. How
Yes.
important was the team in Paralympics? Because you're all individuals and you compete
Oh
on
yeah.
your own,
Oh yeah.
but how important was the
You
team?
compete as a group, like you compete for Ireland. So there was a kind of a great, I suppose kind of togetherness together. You know what I mean? And that's what's important when you're out at that, because like you will have good days, bad days, more nervous days, and you know what I mean, as you prepare. Um, um, Sometimes people be uptight, and if you just have to say the right thing, and they're back down to normal again. You know. And
And
we're lucky that we had a great group. Like,
Yeah.
did you find that you became a bit of a leader of the team as your experiences developed?
probably, you know what I mean. I never regarded myself as kind of one of the best. Probably as a person, like I put more pressure on myself than probably they did. You know what I mean. You know, you know.
And Mairead, would somebody like Bridie, and you can embarrass her here if you'd like, but
Don't bother.
did somebody like Bridie give an example to some of the younger athletes that were competing? Do you remember the people that may have taken kind of a leadership role or taken you under their wing a little bit?
For Bridie, yeah, Bridie was a great. She was, like she was a great competitor, and a great friend, like to everybody on the team, like you know.
And
Thank you, Marie.
what does it mean to have someone like Bridie? And I'm not just singling out Bridie because she hates being talked about like that, it seems.
Oh
But
yeah.
what does it mean to have like those experienced athletes
Oh,
that
but
go on?
it was just like they would calm you down, and you could have a bit of, they would talk talk to you and stuff like that, and say it's only, just to win and do your best. That's all you can do.
So you had those radically different experiences in Sydney, but stepping outside of being just a competitor, did you see Sydney as a games that brought Paralympic sport on a level? Was there more attention? Were there bigger crowds? You talked, Mairead, about there being full stands at your gold medal win. Was there a noticeable difference between Sydney and the other games before?
I would say 96 was the beginning of things to change. I think people suddenly realized that you competed there as an athlete, as somebody that had a disability. Like, you know, I was ranked third in Ireland, you know, but able-bodied. So I suppose when you look at that way, I mean, you know, you are a very, very good athlete. You know what I mean? That's you know, but it changed the face of it after that. I think people realised, and people then began to get better grants and suppose better backup support, and you know,
Yeah.
which has been waiting for years, really. You know.
In some interviews you've done, Bridie, you spoke about hitching a lift with medals in your bag on your way home at the games.
Yeah, that's
Was
right.
that your experience with the last few games that you competed at, or?
Oh God, yeah. Well, you know, I hitched to training, and I got lifts here, there, and every road. And like, I remember going to, say, you know, the competition in Belfast, and like, I'm 7 miles from Derry, and I got so I got the train back down to Derry, and I actually walked from Derry to the house, which is about 7 miles. And yet I wouldn't do that today, would you? No.
What does that sound like to you, Mairead? Is that something that you experienced?
Yeah, it was just like, it was like I wasn't driving at the time, so I would have to get lifts as well and get starting buses, and like it wasn't accessible either. Do you know that way? An awful lot.
Has the country changed, Mairead? Is it more accessible now than it had been? Because we know it's not perfect.
No, not really.
Yeah.
It's not really. From my experience, it's not really.
No, it's not. No, it hasn't changed much at all.
No. Well, we would hope that having people like Paralympians could help make a difference in moving the country forward for people with a disability.
Yeah, I mean,
but still, I'm going ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. It's all right.
I mean, Sydney was great for accessibility for the athletes. Like,
did it make you realize that we have a long way to go ourselves?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Just kind of going back to Sydney. So you, as Team Ireland, you achieve what you achieve out in Sydney, but then you come home, and you had both returned home from multiple games in the past, and you return home through Dublin Airport. What was it like for you guys getting off the plane and entering Dublin Airport into arrivals? Was there much of an atmosphere there to greet you as you came home?
It was totally different from other games. There was hundreds there this time rather than just a couple, you know, just families. And I suppose the minister was there, the Minister for Sport, and friends and family were there. Like, I think that was the change of things moved forward after that.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you when you look back on that moment and you realize that the sports that you represented for so long are now beginning to scratch the surface of the recognition that they deserve? What does that moment in Dublin Airport feel like in that context?
I suppose it has moved so far forward now. Like, it has moved a lot further, but like, I still think it, you know, it's got a way to go. You know what I mean? It's because somebody with a disability has, I suppose, maybe twice the effort to make, because like, they have to get from A to B to start with. You know, and you know, they don't always have the backup support. Like, it is improving all the time, but like, it's better to go yet, I think.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the Paralympians that are competing today are in a better situation than when you would have competed?
Oh God, yes, totally. Because they've all the facilities at their door now, you know what I mean? They have all the backup team, they have the medical, they have the physiotherapists, they have the testing centres, and then I suppose they meet probably maybe 6 times, maybe 8 times a year, which is a lot than we ever done. Maybe we just met before a major championships, and that was it to the next major championships, if you know what I mean. So like in that regard, like it has changed a lot.
Is there ever a moment when you feel jealous of the current athletes, and what do you think you could have achieved if you had similar supports when you were, competing at your best?
Well, I reckon I might have been a better athlete. I might have been a smarter athlete if you had had the backup available at the time. You know what I mean? But like I wouldn't change it for the world. Like,
would you be the same, Mairead?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
You spoke about some hardships that you had getting access to a pool while you were competing. Like, what do you think of the aquatic center and the 25 meter? What could you do in there, and the 50 meter, excuse me, and how would that have helped your preparations?
It would have been me. I would have probably done better with me times and stuff like that, and like it just would have been much better, like as an athlete, like for me to go over to and see a 50-meter pool. Like I would have been used to it,
That's right. That's right.
So I don't want to keep you all day, guys. You've been really, really good with your time. I suppose I'd just like to ask you both, and I'll start with you, Bridie. Look, we're talking about 2000, and I understand that was disappointing because of the injury that you picked up. But looking back on it, what is your biggest memory from 2000, from the Sydney Paralympic Games?
Probably getting my foot crashed.
I thought you might say that.
Yeah. Well, I suppose I suppose I went there in the best shape of my life, hoping that I could achieve what I wanted to achieve. And it so happened I couldn't compete, so I didn't get that opportunity. So probably that's my biggest, yeah. That's
totally understandable that would be the case.
Yeah.
For you, Mairead, the other side of the coin, what would you look back on as your favorite memory from the whole experience of Sydney 2000?
Pushing into the opening ceremony, like it was just, and then getting the gold medal. It was just the best feeling ever.
What was that opening ceremony like? Now that you mentioned it.
Oh, it was just brilliant. Like never saw anything like it in ever. The crowds, the stadium was full.
That was the biggest crowd you'd ever been in front of, I assume?
Yeah.
And just to come back to you, Bridie, to kind of bring it to an end, but you had an amazing career as an athlete. When you look back on it, what is your highest point from your time competing?
Probably, believe it or not, it's probably, I suppose in 1998, World Championships, Madrid. I beat the Russian again, and I broke the world record in the pentathlon. That was probably a highlight. For me, even though probably 96 was what changed the face of athletics for me, as far as, it got me to where I wanted to be.
For you, Mairead, a similar question. What's your highlight from your career as a Paralympian?
It was that we all went out as one team to Sydney, because all the other Paralympics, 92 and 96, we all, the CPs went out on their own.
Oh God, I didn't remember that at all.
You never remember that?
No.
No.
But that's 20 years ago.
Yeah. We all went out as one team, like,
right.
yeah,
The brain.
yeah.
I said I'd let you go, but that's really interesting. What's the difference? What is it? What difference does it make to you to go as one unit and as one group rather than what you've been used to previously?
It was just all part of one team then, you know. It was just like, I don't know, it was just, I felt like that we were all
It's
part.
more a Team Ireland, I suppose.
Yeah,
if
yeah,
it goes one
yeah.
team rather than
Yeah.
individuals.
Yeah,
Individual
you
groups.
always went with the IWA.
Yeah.
So you would have had 3 or 4 or 5 different groups coming in together at
that's
different times.
Yeah,
That's right. That's
yeah.
right.
So
Yeah.
would I be right in saying that after the 2000 games, you would have known each other on the various different sports and disciplines and disabilities? You would have known each other better after the 2000 games than previous ones.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
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 So
think
you
even
came
in-
back as, go on ahead.
I think even in 2000, I think we were all nearly in the one building, while at previous ones we were in separate sections. Like there might have been a team, there might have been part of Ireland team here, and there might have been part of Ireland team maybe 400 meters away. You know, that sort of, So
Right.
I suppose
Right.
Sydney did things differently. Sydney were ready for I suppose a major championships, and they treated us as part of a major championship.
That's a total change, really, isn't
Oh,
it? That
total change,
Yeah,
total
yeah.
change.
Yeah.
how did it feel to you to finally get the recognition that you deserved, or something approaching the recognition you deserved? Did you feel that was an important moment
Wherein?
in Sydney?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it changed. I think it changed the complex of maybe Paralympic sport, and I think I suppose the way that people performed in Sydney. I think people suddenly realised these people do train hard. These
Yeah.
people are not just turning up and winning
Yeah.
a medal. And I think because of probably after Atlanta, because of the recognition I got throughout Ireland, I think that was the beginning of the change, for Paralympic sport. Of course, that's my opinion.
No, I agree with Bridie. Like, it was, Sydney just changed everything.
It's interesting to hear that, because I've spoken to a lot of different Paralympians over the years, and they would all, and maybe it's because a lot of them would be current Paralympians, but they would all point to London as the moment that pushed people on. But it's really interesting that you both would pick out Sydney as being maybe the beginning of the change.
Yeah. Well, the grant system had come in before that, and that's just the way it moved on from that.
And that support made all the difference.
Oh God, yes, of course.
Well,
at least you're able to travel to major championships without having to worry about where you're going to get the finance.
Yeah.
Okay, well, look, Bridie and Mairead, it's been fantastic speaking to you. I've really enjoyed it, and I'd love to talk to both of you again, and maybe talk a bit more about your own individual careers. But for this look back at the Sydney Paralympic Games from 20 years ago, I just want to thank you for sharing your experiences, wildly different as they were.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.